the rise of technology, a new and modern approach of online learning has been developed as a new method for students. Specifically, with the COVID-19 pandemic dramatically changing the course of the world, all educational institutions have turned to using online distance learning to various degrees. With this new style of learning still being relatively new, it's important to understand the true impacts it has on students and whether it's positive or negative. By understanding both the benefits and the downsides, one can be able to understand if virtual learning might be the best suit for them. With online learning taking place, there are many benefits that supporters appreciate and point out. This varies from being more cost-effective, allowing more flexibility for classes, and a more customized learning experience. By only requiring an internet-accessible device, students and schools are able to save a lot more money due to the lack of required materials and staff that are needed. In fact, journalist Philip Poletic has pointed out that students in higher levels of education, such as college, have found this to be a lot more cost-effective. So students are able to have their tuition fees drastically lowered because schools have less of a need of supplies with materials since education is offered online, as well as the faculty since the online process takes over much of these costs. Because online learning can make education more affordable, this opens more opportunity to low-income students to further their education. Populations that commonly face educational barriers due to fiscal reasons can alleviate the situation by taking advantage of the online learning format and is more affordable. Not only does the student save money, but also the school itself does. According to a study from the University of Florida, the average cost of a full-time pupil online costs the school about $4,300, while in person, that number rises to $9,100. With this vast difference, online learning positively affects schools who often can face disparities in the financial area. Schools that struggle with funding or have to allocate money sparingly can turn to online education as a solution. And schools have the opportunity to reallocate money more towards the students since the costs will be lower. This is especially important in underserved communities where schools often have to struggle with getting adequate textbooks, information, and other basic resources for students. Aside from being more financially affordable, students have the ability to have more time management and flexibility within their scheduling. Researcher Kelsey Miller from Northeastern University noted that students who were placed in an online academic setting were able to experience a lot more flexibility with their scheduling and overall daily life. With online learning, this is a significant convenience factor for the student because what's required is just an internet accessible device. Students can complete their work anywhere, anytime. So there's less of this mandatory constraint that's placed on students, which can help take off a lot of pressure and help the student feel a lot more at ease and confident within their work. This convenience factor can also be very crucial for students who might have to miss class attendance due to special circumstances or life events that impact them from being physically present in their class. So students are able to accommodate their work on the go and attend classes more easily. While online learning may seem to have its benefits, there are also some downsides, including mental health issues and potentially lowered academic performance. According to the American Psychological Association, there's often a lack of motivation when it comes to students and online learning. Because online learning is much more secluded compared to the in-person setting, students are more likely to experience a lack of individualized feedback and help from instructors. Because of this, students often experience a lack of motivation due to the limited availability of resources they have to them. So many of them often find themselves having no connection with their class because of this lack of physical interaction. Unfortunately, this same research has also found that if this lack of connection persists for too long, this can eventually lead to the individual gaining psychological disorders such as depression or anxiety. Likewise, virtual learning has also been seen to have a direct negative impact on the overall student academic achievement. According to journalist Denise Marie Ordway, studies have proven that students who spent high school learning virtually had a 50% graduation rate, while those who learned in person had an 83% graduation rate. This gap is largely due to because with online learning, students do not have the availability of resources around them, which is why there is such a decline. Because students are not provided with enough help towards their education, it's easier for students to have a lower success rate on tests and assignments because material may not be as fully understood online than it were if it were in person. For these reasons, this is why opposers of virtual learning often do not support the new online learning format. All in all, there are both positives and negatives with online learning, which can be appealing to different demographics of students. It is ultimately up to the student to decide whether or not they choose to utilize the online learning format, depending on their own preferences and circumstances.